First question will be coming from...
From Aho Kalinga?
No, sir. From Raymond Tinasa of Bombo Radio.
Raymond?
So good afternoon, sir, and Happy New Year. Sir, first, initially, what was your reaction upon receiving the report of the 13 killed in the Atimunan Quezon encounter? Were you saddened or dismayed because 6 of the uniformed personnel died in the clash?
Yung initial kasi was a text message from, I think it was Director General Purisima, saying that there was an encounter, no? Or there was a report of encounter. Siyempre, yung una mo na reaction, 13 namatay, medyo maraming namatay. Tapos may presumption of regularity initially. No? May nasugatan on the side of the people who were manning the checkpoint. So para bang may, on the surface, para may proof na may encounter. However, I asked for a lot of the details. No? At doon sa details, medyo napag-isip na ako doon sa salaysay na ibinigay. At bringing up ko to kay Director General Purisima and Secretary Rojas also na to look into what seemingly was not normative or normal behavior. Okay, for instance, sa checkpoint, marami tayong reports na may checkpoints tayong naharas, nahuhuli yung perpetrators subsequent to that checkpoint. No? Dito, palagay ko, sorry, I'm a bit hesitant to talk about the details. There is an ongoing investigation. I don't want to prejudge and perhaps give the impression that I'm leading the investigators to a certain conclusion. Pero I think suffice to say, yesterday in 2 of the broadsheets, no, nakita natin yung pictures. The pictures themselves speak a lot. No? Talagang literally, what is the phrase? A picture says 1,000 words. No? So may invite you to look at yesterday's pictures on the front page and the inside pages. Medyo yung idea ng checkpoint and the signages, etc., inconsistent between the photographs on the front page and inside. Okay. So yung part of the report kasi was a clearly established checkpoint. So I've tasked the NBI, and the NBI will be sole agency to investigate the incident to preclude any bias on the part of any associates of the people involved within the PNP.
So with those circumstances and the details arriving at your desk, maybe, you yourself, sir, has some doubts that it is actually a checkpoint or a shootout?
Ulitin ko lang, no? Ano bang facts na nasa tangan ko? Marami tayong reports na kung saan there are instances na may mga nag-checkpoint, merong criminal elements, puputokan yung nasa checkpoint, at nasusugatan o namamatayin tayo sa checkpoint, nahahabol yung perpetrators after that checkpoint. Dito parang sa checkpoint mismo, naubos lahat nung supposed to be dadakpin. Marami ng subsequently, may mga other information na dumating na parang inconsistent with the purported story. Ngayon, if I go into the details, siyempre yung mga magtatago ng katotohanan, baka mapaganda yung kwento. Yung mga investigador naman, baka piling lang maobliga na meron silang conclusion na dapat ma-reach. Gusto natin malaman ang katotohanan at maparusahan kung sino man ang mga may sala.
Sir, last from my end. Sir, any assurance to the families of those killed in that clash that they may be given justice, especially namatay na daw sila and now their relatives are branded now as criminals?
Well, there will be justice, no? Yung where it will lead to, I cannot tell at this point in time. Di ba? May mga namatay na supposed to be involved in illegal activities. May mga kasamang members of law enforcement agencies and authorities, maraming association has to be explained. In the other side naman, 13 nga namatay, use of deadly force is only authorized in self-defense or defense of others. So that also has to be established. So sa ngayon, yung I will be speculating without the basis for facts that are being unearthed presently by the NBI.
Sir, why did you task NBI as the sole investigative agency? It is a matter of trust and confidence.
There's no trust. No? There's no aspect of trust. The PNP is competent to investigate. But may mga magsasabi, bakit mo pa iimbestigahan yung iniimbestigahan? Or bakit ang mag-iimbestiga sariling entity na iniimbestigahan? So para ma-preclude na merong bias, favoritism, factionalism, etc., ilagay na natin yung mas klarong independent agency.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. President, the second question will be from Tere Andrada of GMA7.
Correct.
Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Definitely.
Sir, marami po ang nagtatanong, ano daw po ang posisyon nyo dun sa mga proposals for one, a stricter gun control, and two, yung pong total gun ban, lalo na po sa mga civilian?
Total gun ban, no? Yung siguro ang premise ng ito, sakayin tayo na, kunyari, may mga mungkahin na taasan ng mga penalty, okay yun. Huwag lang natin kalimutan no, na yung, kunyari, nagpaputok ng baril ng New Year, no? Pinaputok sa area o sa lupa, illegal discharge yun. May mga violations na ng batas. No? At if kailangan natin patupad yung batas. Towards that end, can I just quote some figures? Medyo na-alarma ako doon sa I think this was hindi ako nagkakamali, second quarter of last year. I called in Director General Bartolome, the Department of Justice, specifically the NBI and others, yung private armed groups. As you know, the Constitution bans private armed groups. So I was asking the status of operations against private armed groups. I was alarmed because seemingly there were too many people who are either local government officials or were former local government officials or people intending to run that were being killed or shot at and wounded severely. So I tasked them to have a dedicated campaign and specific entities within the various agencies to go after the private armed groups. So yung result so far is we have arrested 64 individuals, 9 have been killed, surrendered have been 50 for a total of 123 identified members of private armed groups, resulting in the recovery of a total of 249 firearms. In addition to that, at medyo several months na nga itong ginagawa, yung pati yung si Bae, yung sa Kawit, no? May expired licenses, meron ng PNP, they call it Oplan Katok, wherein they visit people who have licensed firearms whose licenses have expired. In Bae's case, I understand they tried twice to visit him to remind him that his licenses have expired based on the records and for him to either renew or to surrender the firearms. Unfortunately, they weren't able to to go to his house when he was there and there was nobody else to serve the notice to. Meron ng allegations about a PDEA raid on the same house that is currently being investigated. So yung we are not just going after loose firearms, but we are also making sure that the privilege is exercised appropriately. So, yun nga yung pag-expired yung license mo, hindi tinotolerate, talagang active na pinupuntahan lahat ng mga people, registered owners, no, to update their licenses or to surrender and relinquish the same so that they do not fall into the hands of perpetrators. Ulitin ko lang, no? By definition, lahat itong mga gumagawa ng krimen, outlaw. So a law that seeks to reform the outlaws will not work. So you need yung law that will sanction them further as to prove as a deterrence, okay yun. Pero I think there are so many studies that have said this several times. In America, for instance, areas where they have liberalized yung tinatawag na concealed carry weapon permits has had a marked drop in crime statistics. Areas na naghigpit has seen an increase. So I think a lot of us will agree with the basic premise na yung outlaw will be one of the first or the first groups that will say thank you na madidisarmahan yung law-abiding citizen dahil mas madali na sila mabiktima. So, it sounds nice, no? Total gun ban, but the total does not happen because the outlaw will not. So we will not stop in our pursuit of all of these people who are outside of the law and get them before the bars of justice. So, dito ko lang, yung private armed groups, there really is a dedicated effort to go after them. I think we have had notable successes in driving them away from areas where they operate, and that doesn't mean that we're stopping. There is already a safe campaign to make these elections really orderly, peaceful. And huwag natin kalimutan, back of my mind, talagang seryoso tayo sa ating anti-corruption efforts. So baka iba nag-iisip kung wala silang perang pambili at pang-corrupt ng mga kung sino man, baka daanin sa dahas. So gusto natin to unintended consequences of the anti-corruption effort not to happen. So tuloy-tuloy yung kampanya, and this is nationwide.
Sir, just a follow-up. There are pending legislations to impose a more comprehensive gun control laws. I think last year po yata may nagpadala na rin ng letter sa inyo appealing for this.
There is a summit last year ginawa. All stakeholders were supposed to be involved. and they are, to reform the whole process, no, to make it more relevant and improve it. So I'm still awaiting the results of this pending legislation.
Sir, last from me. Meron din pong panawagan na sana daw po kayo daw po bilang isang gun enthusiast would take the lead dito sa pagdating po sa baril. I think most of them want, kung pwede, itigil nyo ba? Or you lead by example daw? Yun daw yung
I think I
essence.
lead by example by conforming to the law. No? Baka naman sana naman ako na may ginagawa mali para itigil yung behavior na pinapatigil. No? So, I think you will acknowledge that I was a victim of violence in this aspect in 87, and both my church, and the law recognizes my right to self-defense. Self-defense, it's a skill, and it's a skill that has to be practiced to have any value. So, ulitin ko lang, magandang headline, total gun ban. Ito. Pero knee-jerk reaction Hindi ko ugali mambola. Maghanap tayo ng paraan na talagang masosolve yung issue at hindi nagpapakit lang. Pasensyahan na lang, pero ang ginagawa nga namin, before all of these incidents happened, habulin lahat ng private armed groups dahil palagay natin ito ang pinaka-violent at pinaka-threat sa society. Masigasig na effort, hindi nilas-kugon, hindi 1 linggo, hindi 2 linggo, continuing efforts at may resulta na. Ito nga yung at least 123 members of different private armed groups have been effectively brought before the bars of justice or neutralized.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, there are observations that the Quezon encounter is a test case for the leadership of the PNP chief. Do you agree? Or do you share the same view?
He's actually been very proactive. The PNP chief has not been in office for, I guess about a month or so. At syempre yung focus has to be on the preparations for the elections amongst other things. At maraming kailangan ayusin. For instance, one of the immediate projects is yung idea nung recruitment into the PNP. Marami tayong naririnig in several years na itong mga nare-recruit sa PNP na be-victimized, papasok pa lang sa recruitment stage. So, kung na-victimized, hindi pa sila pulis, nung naging pulis, parang tumatabla. Yung mga pinag-usapan na namin to kung anong remedies, anong solutions to ensure that the quality of the recruits that we're getting is really up to standard. Tapos may reorganization that is happening. There are a lot of the senior members of the PNP who are retiring or have decided to retire early. And reorganization should happen before the start of the election ban period, so that we are ready to meet any eventuality. In essence, napakarami ng mga kailangan gawin. I think it was in this first week na yung ating kampanya para maiwasan yung mga trahedya ng New Year naging talagang nasa implementation stage na at hindi na natin siya binigyan ng pagkakataon na paano may expression, to warm his chair, dire-diretso nang kumakain yung tao. Bigyan naman natin ng konting pagkakataon. In fairness to him, yung mga reports that he forwarded to me from the field, he himself was vetting it, and he called me up to say that there were certain issues that cropped up in his reading already that made him pause and to think on the validity of the initial reports that he was getting. Can I repeat that? Yung dumating na report sa kanya, nung mas dumami, mas maraming detalye na nakuha niya, may mga duda na rin siyang napansin at kaagad nagtayo siya ng kanyang task force para malaman kung ano talaga nangyari dyan sa Timona, Quezon.
Mm-hmm. So far, sir, you're satisfied with his performance?
Palagay ko, mahirap naman purihin ko yung in-appoint ko. Pakita na lang niya yung performance niya. At this will be, not only in this instance, pero the other cases. I'm so tempted to tell you about what the Department of Justice is doing with regards to the Caloocan case. At saka meron pa tayong mga... Pwede ba iwan ko na lang na meron tayong mga operations na ongoing, na recent information has come to light, at gugulatin na lang namin kayo sa dami ng resultang positive because of all of these tragedies.
Thank you,
Pero
sir.
ayoko lang muna i-pre-warn yung mga taong inuusig namin na baka gusto nyo magtago, mas mabuti, malapit na namin kayo mahuli na. So hindi natin sasabihin kung saan ito mga operations na to, kung sino tinutukoy, pero confident ako na magbabago yung estado ng mga komunidad na matagal nang na-terrorize.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Sir, last from Au.
Au.
Au Kalika.
Yung sa cases lang po ng governors ni Governor
Governor,
Garcia
okay.
and
Okay.
si Governor Espino. Parang may mga observations lang sir that medyo tinatarget daw po yung mga non-allies. And also how are you preparing for the campaign? For the coming campaign, sir?
How am I preparing for the campaign? Siyempre, I'm talking with the parties that we are in coalition with. We are mapping out all the details, yung branding, yung themes, yung sorting, and all of those details. I'm talking to siyempre the leadership of the parties concerned, but more specifically with the LP, no, to advance the cause for candidates. Okay. Dictated by yung suspension. There's only one so far, no? Si Gwen Garcia. Is that dictated by politics? There was mahaba yung proseso, no? The complaint originated in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. Dumaan ng pagkahaba-habang proseso yung investigasyon ng DILG under Secretary Jesse Robredo, dinala sa Office of the President, and the ES studied the matter, at lumabas na may mga base yung reklamo ng yumaong Vice Governor. Baka pwede nating highlight yung isa. Issue is yung budget ng Sangguniang Panlalawigan, yung budget ng Office of the Vice Governor. I think it has clearly been established na nung namatay yung Vice Governor na hindi po naalay, yung binawasan na budget, balik sa dating number. So talagang sinadya na bawasan yung budget para sa panahon ni Vice Governor, tinanggalan yung kapangyarihan niya na i-appoint yung mga empleyado ng Sangguniang Panlalawigan na clearly nasa saklaw ng Vice Governor being head of the legislature in the Sangguniang Panlalawigan. In short, napakaklaro yung ebidensya, facts, pati na yung testimonya ng pati kaalyado ni Governor Garcia. So there was a violation of the pertinent rules and regulations, and there is a corresponding penalty. We are blind as to party affiliation. Yung reverse is to do nothing and to be accused of not fulfilling our oath to faithfully execute all laws of the land. Okay, nagkataon, hindi namin sila kapartido. That doesn't mean na hindi sila sumubok na sumanib sa amin. Pero kailan naman siguro, may nag-akusa, may resolution o akusasyon at napatunayan na mayroong pag-lalabag sa kakulang mga patakaran. Yung kay Governor Espino, mayor ng saklaw niya, ilang witness ba? I'm sure there's one, I think there are two. No? At babalik ako doon. No? Pwede bang may nag-akusa na naman, serious, may mga prebang pinapakita, accounts, etc. Pwede bang hindi namin pansinin at palampasin yung eleksyon? Palagay ko kami naman na makakasuhan, no, na hindi namin ginawa yung trabaho namin na i-execute nga yung ating mga batas.
Sir, have you spoken with Vice President Binay regarding the issue of Governor Garcia, and hindi daw po ba concerned yung coalition partners regarding the developments sa politics?
We didn't talk about that. The last time we got to talk was the Rizal Day rights. We talked about some other things. I don't recall exactly what it was, but it wasn't that topic.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon.